Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense here on YouTube. Today I want to talk a little bit about how Kyle Rittenhouse's case impacts your life if you carry a gun. So stay tuned. By way of full disclosure, I write for Concealed Carry Magazine, which is a product of the United States Concealed Carry Association. This is not a paid endorsement, nor am I advocating any particular form of insurance. But if you haven't been paying attention to what's going on in the Rittenhouse case, then you need to, because you definitely need to make sure that if you are ever put on trial for your life, that you have the resources available to you to put up the kind of defense that you're going to need. Now, there is an old song in the concealed carry community, something to the effect of, you aren't going to get a text message on the day when it's necessary for you to defend your life. In other words, somebody's going to pop up out of the bushes and stick a gun at you, and you're going to have to defend. And when you do, there is a risk that any number of things could happen. Someone could take the gun that the person pointed at you. Someone could tamper with the evidence. Or you could just get a horse's behind as your prosecuting attorney. Now, one of the reasons, and I've said this numerous times in various places, one of the reasons you should pay attention on local elections is that your prosecutor is probably the most important person that you elect. That's especially true if you want to have someone who's tough on crime, and it's equally important if you want to have somebody who treats concealed carriers fairly. Why is that important? Well, look at what's gone on in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. First of all, look at what goes into one of these cases. There are at least 2 lawyers involved in the courtroom proceedings. There are probably 4 or 5 additional lawyers handling motions and depositions, fact gathering, talking to witness, taking witness statements, doing all of that kind of thing. And every one of those attorneys will at some point bill an hourly rate for that time that they spend. Now, we're in the Midwest, so we're not paying East Coast rates, but if you were on the East Coast, you'd be paying $500, $600, up to almost $900 an hour in some places for that kind of legal help. And if you don't have a lot of money, or you don't have a house that's worth that kind of money, the chance that you could actually make a defense under that situation would be very, very limited. Also, in Kyle's case, one of the witnesses is a use of force expert. Now, a use of force expert is necessary here to sort of explain why the law applies with regard to the use of force. He'll have things to talk about, like reaction gap, the time between somebody points a gun and the time you can react to it. He will have all kinds of technical information to produce, as well as information that relates directly to the use of force. So he's a use of force expert. Well, somebody who has spent their entire life in that area of discipline of crime prevention or crime response or whatever, however he trained to get this ability to be an expert, whatever he's doing, he is going to expect to be paid well for it. A lot of doctors, and this is a good example, some doctors want $1,000 an hour at trial. And they will flat tell you, look, this is what I make in an average hour in my practice. I run, 5 patients through there at $200 a patient. That's $1,000 an hour. And by golly, if I'm going to come in here to court, I should make the same amount of money I make in my practice. Well, doubtless the use of force expert doesn't make $1,000 an hour, but he probably makes somewhere in the neighborhood between $300 and $500 an hour. because that's reasonable for a non-medical specialist. And here's what you have to pay for. You have to pay for him, in this case, watching every one of those videos. You have to pay for him reading every deposition, every witness statement. Everything relevant to the case goes into forming his opinion. And the reason he has to read that, because if he doesn't admit that he read that, then the other side takes that piece of paper and holds it up to the jury and says, aha, they kept this fact from him, I wonder why. Well, probably because it wasn't relevant, but it makes the expert look bad. So he's got to read all that stuff. Well, you know, the meter goes down when he starts reading and the meter comes back up when he quits, and that might be 15 hours. 15 hours at $300 an hour, that adds up pretty quick. And at $500 an hour, it adds up even quicker. So my point in all this is you're going to pay a lot of money for an expert, and that's before you even have him step foot into the courtroom. So all of this means that from the moment after the shooting, when you need legal advice about how to handle what's going on, up until the very moment when you step foot into that courtroom, you need to have an attorney, you need to have a team to gather evidence, and it all costs money. And insurance is really the most effective way to offset that. Now, there are some plans, for example, where they will allow you to put their law firm on retainer. And if you only plan on ever carrying your firearm in your local community, that makes sense. But if you fly to Florida or you fly to Las Vegas and you wind up getting into a shooting in one of those locations, that lawyer who is licensed in your home state may not be able to help you. He may have to find local counsel for you, and you're going to have to pay out of pocket for that. So all of these things are things that you need to consider. Again, I'm not trumpeting any particular insurance plan. There are several out there. But I will tell you that I'm a member of the United States Concealed Carry Association. I have their insurance, and I feel very safe with that insurance behind me. I know that moments after I finish my call with 911, my next call will be to them, and I will have an attorney ready for me. Now you're thinking, Tony, what do you need an attorney for? Come on, man, you're an attorney yourself. That's exactly the reason that I need an attorney. Because I can't advocate for myself in an objective manner. I know what I did, but my telling of it may be against my own interests. I may have an attorney who says, keep quiet, we're not talking about this. Whatever it is, I'm going to follow his advice because he knows that area of the law. I do appeals. I do work in appellate courts. I don't do trial work, and I don't do very much criminal work. I've done a few cases, but not much. So, my opinion is I have to hire somebody to do the work for me because I am not competent to do it myself. There's an old saw about the person who acts as his own attorney has a fool for a client, and that's probably true. It might very well cost you in excess of $150,000 just to get to trial, and it might cost you up to $250,000 to get through trial. And you want the very best representation you can have in that situation. The amount of money that you pay for insurance is an additional tax on carrying a firearm, but it's a tax that keeps you safe. You only have one life. You only have one future. You have to protect it. As Andrew Branca is always saying, you carry a gun so you're hard to kill. You have to know the law so you're hard to convict. So for that reason and that reason alone, you should absolutely consider buying some form of insurance to assist you with the defense. And if you think, well, surely my homeowner's insurance will kick in and help me with defense, no. Your homeowner's insurance will not cover you because it has a criminal acts exclusion. It will deny coverage on the basis of you having committed a criminal act. Even if you didn't really commit the criminal act, if you're alleged to have committed one, I can assure you that the insurance company is going to deny coverage. So, with all of that in mind, I would suggest you go out and get a good insurance policy to cover you if you carry a concealed weapon. So, hopefully this has been interesting, helpful, informative, maybe some things you didn't know. I would appreciate it if you haven't already to give me that thumbs up on the YouTube algorithm and let YouTube know that this is useful content for other people. If you haven't already, go over here and subscribe to our channel. And if you hit the notification bell, you can be notified every time we release a video on this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a terrific day. I will catch you on here next time.